The night comes in the Magentano Kingdom Palace. Queen Alicia walks in the hallway alone. Then she felt an eerie feeling looking at one of the palace doors. She slowly pushes the door to open it. There she saw her younger self, and surrounding the young Queen Alicia is 3 young male kids. Looking at it made the queen sad. The blood is still dripping on the sword, with a dead body lying on the ground who is actually his older brother. The young Queen Alicia started speaking with regrets. She said, "I was left with no choice. My brothers, they tried to kill me, and the people who killed mom and dad ended up being with them as well. They were always kind to me, but it was all a lie." The atmosphere changes into something scary as the young Queen Alicia starts glaring at the present Alicia with an eye of anger because of the betrayal. She said, "Don't trust anyone. You must kill them before they kill you." Lloyd Frontera. It is obvious just how big a threat he is. You want to let someone into your heart again? Are you out of your mind? Can't you see that you will be betrayed again? Queen Alicia didn't say anything and listens to what her younger self said. Her younger self shouted, "Just people call you a wise queen. Do you think they respect you? Don't you? Anyone in the world can cut off your head any time." Her younger self continues speaking hate speeches. She said, "Fight and kill. Take everyone in as prisoners and suppress them. Don't give anyone a chance to oppose us." The present Queen Alicia just stays silent as she walks slowly, going closer to her younger self. Then, instead of giving in to the hate speech and the trials that her younger self had experienced, she didn't mind it, but instead hugged her younger self who had undergone too much pain. In the vast world where only pain and suffering were in there, Queen Alicia told her younger self, "Don't make such an angry face. You are sad and scared, aren't you? It is okay to be weak sometimes." Then Queen Alicia tears start falling down as seen in her reflection. Her younger self, which is full of hatred and guilt for killing her brothers, vanished in the air. Queen Alicia was left crying with a light heart after that. Queen Alicia wakes up from that continuous tragic dream she experienced in the past. She raised her hand and the poison curse that was in her hand vanished. Before Queen Alicia fully overcomes the poison, Lloyd bows down to the queen and tells him about his experience. He said, "I don't know how exactly I overcome that, but it was just a confirmation." Queen Alicia asks, "What do you mean confirmation?" Lloyd replied, "Confirmation that being a human means you can have evil thoughts and that you can be weak sometimes. The second that people try to look away from that, their heart becomes ill." Queen Alicia asks, "An illness of the heart? Are you also an expert in that?" Lloyd humbly replied, "I simply did some research on it because it is an illness that is scary beyond any imagination." Queen Alicia just smiles after hearing that and starts to question her mind about what Lloyd actually said. Now that confirmation of Lloyd was actually true and the queen was already healed from that poison, she could only take a sigh while lying on her bed. She said, "I owe you another debt. I don't know what to do." After that incident, a trial for Lloyd was going to be held in the kingdom. The noble faction headed by Duke Toscano was so happy and hurriedly went to the place where the trial will be held. An announcement said, "The trial of Lloyd Frontera will begin. Everyone in the noble council, please join quickly." In Duke Toscano's mind, even though Werthrod died, he contributed big time. One noble said, "No matter what things are like in Magentano, we should be able to end this guy for good with such a huge incident." Duke Toscano smiled like a demon and replied, "Yeah, we are talking about mishandling the kingdom's sacred artifact and losing it. Even if we are talking about a meritorious subject, his family will lose their title at the very least." I don't know how long will this smile last, knowing that Lloyd is literally a noble slayer. Now Lloyd is at the center of the noble for his trial. The queen said, "Based on the sacred laws of the great Magentano kingdom, we will begin the trial of Lloyd Frontera. This trial is taking place upon the legitimate request of the noble council. Noble councilmen, tell us the crime of this man as the jurors." As these evil nobles are the juror who will give verdict to Lloyd, they were smiling looking at Lloyd. Looking at Lloyd, who is at the center of this nobles who plan to ridicule him, made the queen worried. In Queen Alicia's mind, "I'm sorry, Lloyd Frontera, not even I can ignore the laws as I wish. I will help you at least avoid capital punishment." On the other hand, Miss Siluria was complaining to Javier. She said, "That is crazy. The person who caused the Winter Heart to go berserk was someone else. Sir Lloyd protected the city." Javier replied, But in the first place, Master Lloyd was the reason why the Winter Heart was out, and he is responsible for failing to stop the culprit. Miss Siluria told Javier that it is a ridiculous claim by the nobles. Javier told Siluria that there is no need for her to be worried because Lloyd will be fine. Miss Siluria asks, "The noble hates him. How would that be all right?" Javier replied, "Because he said that he will be all right." Duke Toscano said, "Defendant Lloyd Frontera, hear this. You requested for the kingdom's sacred artifact. We, the noble council, and our queen, granted your request because we had a trust in you." But Lloyd at this time starts picking up something in his pocket. This made Duke Toscano angry. He said, "How dare you fiddle around in the midst of this sacred court?" What Lloyd actually picks up is a vial, and there is still bloodstains on it. Duke Toscano was quite confused about what is that thing. Lloyd raised the vial, and it was actually the vial that Worthrod had given on the Duke. Lloyd's face turns into something uglier, which means right now that is his ace to be in the upper hand of this trial. Realizing what is that vial, Duke Toscano's face turns into something pale and looks like he was about to take a sheet. He remembers the time that he ordered a soldier to spill that vial of blood in front of the room that has a Winter Heart, and he told the guard that he will give him more money than he could earn with his lowly status as a soldier. Lloyd starts spinning the vial in his hand. Now that the Duke is in the palm of Lloyd Frontera, the Duke starts panicking and shaking, with his eyes was moving rapidly. The Duke starts panting heavily. In his mind, how did he get that in all of the chaos? Before the trial, Lloyd actually goes to the area where the incident happened together with Javier. Lloyd said, "The security here was super tight. There is no way that Worthrod guy could have walked in here just like that. He teleported with his own blood, right? That means there is an insider that opened up a path here somewhere for him. If I find that evidence, I can overturn the results of the trial. It is definitely one of the noble councilmen that hates me." So, Lloyd called out his legendary Pokemons, and with their help, they hurriedly scattered to scan the whole area. Now that one major evidence that could turn the court upside down was in the hands of no other than the noble slayer with legendary face, Lloyd Frontera. Duke Toscano was shaking and his voice was trembling. He said this while stuttering, "In any case." "Oh, what I was going to say. You betrayed our kindness. You were supposed to manage the artifact. You need to be held responsible." Lloyd was making the Duke a clown by pointing the vial left and right, which the Duke was following looking at it. Then Lloyd's mouth was pointing at something, a direction on the side. The Duke was confused, what is it, and starts looking in that direction. Looking at the direction, it was actually the soldier who he had ordered to spill the blood of Worthrod. The day before the trial, that soldier confessed everything, saying that he didn't know that it will cause massive incident, and since Lloyd saved his life, he said that he will help him during the trial. Lloyd was smiling at the Duke. He looked like a demon who would devour anything in his way. Two aces were in his hand, the soldier who can become a witness and the vial, which is a piece of evidence. Looking at Lloyd with his evil smile, the Duke was shaking while slowly saying his verdict. The Duke's emotion changed from the opposing team. Now he could become a prophet saying praises for Lloyd. The Duke said, "There were a few wrongdoings that you have committed, but we all know who you are, don't we, Lloyd Frontera? Your live and breathe contributions to this kingdom, our great meritorious subject. Even though you have created a mess, it is nothing compared to how much you have improved the travel road within the city." After hearing that, the noble who knows that they are in the opposing side was confused of this sudden statement. Even the queen, who knows the noble's true motives, was also confused. Lloyd started dancing like he was the leader in the opera of Ballerina. Duke Toscano was still saying his praises. He said, "You are also the hero who stopped the assassin who tried to harm Her Highness. You who surprised the entire world by building a beautiful garden. You who protected the kingdom from the Bone Dragon's attack and showed the world that the Bone Dragon is subservient to our kingdom, telling the world that the Magentano kingdom is the strongest." Our legendary MC points at Duke Toscano while glaring at him as a warning. In Lloyd's mind, "I will spare you just this time around. You know what will happen if you even try to get in my way again, right?" Duke Toscano was pushing himself to smile but was actually crying his hearts out as he raised his final verdict. He said, "Lloyd Frontera should not be the defendant. Instead, he should be proclaimed as a hero among heroes." Moral lesson for this chapter: don't make Lloyd Frontera your enemy, or you will be doomed. After that trial, Lloyd Frontera won the case. Although he was spared from the punishment as the hero of the kingdom, something still had to be done for what happened. He had to take responsibility for the loss of the Winter Heart. He told Bibiong to raise the material slowly and carefully, also to hang just a little bit longer. His penalty was to aid in construction once whenever the queen requested it. Lloyd thinks that he should be grateful because that is the only thing that he needs to do, but he still feels like there is not enough time. Bibiong raised the last Tauranga that they need to be extracted. Then a system window pops up saying that he already gathered all 12 Taurangas, which is the Truth Jewel core materials. For accomplishing the historical achievement of obtaining the materials of the legendary jewel, Lloyd has given a bonus RP. His eyes widen as he was amazed that the bonus was a total of 2,000 RP. Now his total RP is 4,655. With this, he clenched his fist like he won in the lottery. In his mind, wow, what is this? It is freaking awesome. I can use time freeze whenever there is a great danger. The queen also rid of her curse. We also stopped a huge incident, so I was hoping the fates would change a little. But seeing that there is still someone who will die in the future, he thinks that it is not that easy to change them. But for him, it is still okay because now he is heading towards the solution. Then Lloyd asks for an audience to the queen and he bows down. The queen told him that Lloyd is such an annoying man. The queen asks, "Are you trying to leave as soon as you have done what you needed to?" Lloyd replied, "Please forgive me for this. I have important matters that I need to finish quickly and they cannot be delayed any further." The queen was silent after hearing that. The queen started her first move. She asks, "Is it more important than staying by my side and resting for a while?" Lloyd replied, "Yes." The queen was silent, and after hearing that, it hurt her feelings, but she still smiles, maybe to hide the pain of being rejected. The queen smiled with her beautiful face. She said, "Go quickly then. I will wait for you." After hearing that, Lloyd slowly looks up and takes a peek at the face of the queen. Seeing the face of the queen made Lloyd blush. In his mind, whoa, what was that? My heart felt weird for a moment there. Hey, Winter Butt, my heart is acting a little strange because of you. The poor Winter Butt felt attacked for being blamed. In Winter Heart's mind, what's with his blockhead? Does he really not know what is happening? Then both Javier and Lloyd rode to the dragon son of Lloyd. Yang Yang was carrying the core materials that needed for the construction of the Truth Jewel. Then a great splash was seen as Yang Yang throws it into the sea where the Merman Kingdom is. Seeing that it falls perfectly, Lloyd smiled. He said, "Good, if we follow that path, we will fall near the Merman Kingdom." Then Lloyd calls Javier asking him if he said a proper goodbye to Siluria. Javier replied, "Yes, somewhat." Lloyd asks, "You didn't say anything else?" Javier replied, "What could we talk about? You are making a big fuss about matching me and Miss Siluria." Lloyd smirked and said, "Look at you, acting all disinterested." Then Lloyd proudly says, "I told you that I am the apostle of love. I know love when I see it. There is nothing I don't know." The Winter Butt was shocked to hear that. In his mind, no, there are things you don't know. In fact, you are the most ignorant. You are really stupid, you know that. Javier was silent for a moment as he remembered something. He thinks about the time when he was about to leave the kingdom. At that time, Miss Siluria said, "Someday, when you are done with what you need to do, I will tell you that I love you, and I have become a respectable grand mage." Thinking of that time made the handsome knight, Javier Asrahan, blushed. This made Lloyd annoyed. He said, "Why are you blushing? You had a sweet conversation, didn't you? Damn, that is so infuriating." Javier replied, "Wait, you were just rooting for us." Lloyd said, "Not that I see you happy, I am getting jealous. Damn, I hate the sight of you." Javier took a deep sigh and asks, "Whatever, but where is our next destination?" Lloyd replied, "The Southern Plains. There is another important material in there." Javier said, "Southern Plains? Is that where the tribe is at?" Lloyd replied, "Yes. The Rampant tribe of the Plains, the Centaurs. The second core material, Top, has changed hands multiple times after the Great Race War, and now it is in the hands of the Centaurs. Lloyd thinks that once he finds them, he will be able to find hints to where Top is." And Lloyd and Javier arrived in the very fast Central Plain. Javier said, "This place looks too big for us to find them on feet though." Lloyd replied, "We can't possibly rummage through this land with the fearsome Yang Yang, and they will be the one that will find us." Then the prediction of Lloyd was right. A large dark smoke appeared. There is a silhouette in the dark smoke, a being that has an upper part of a human and a lower part of a horse. But the Centaurs who welcome Lloyd look like punks and delinquents. The captain of the Centaurs asks, "Who are you? Do you know where you are? How dare you invade this place?" Lloyd was taken aback. In his mind, "Oh, it is different from what I had imagined. What's with this novel settings?" The Centaurs surrounded both Lloyd and Javier while galloping like a horse. They are making weird noises like a honk and noises of a car. Lloyd raises his hand and asks, "Before I tell you about myself, what is with those sound effects?" The Centaur captain asks, "Huh? Sound effects? Are you talking about our roars? You humans do it though? Things like oh and wow." Hearing that for Lloyd this story setting is a mess. While the Centaurs were doing some weird noises, Lloyd bows down to show courtesy. He said, "I have come here to ask the wisest Centaur among the great Centaurs a question." The captain of Centaurs asks, "What? The likes of someone like you wants to meet our chieftain? No way in hell, two-legged beast." Then Lloyd smiled as he was about to activate his level 99 negotiation skills. He said, "What difference is there between being two-legged and four-legged? I am faster than you anyway. That ought to give me the right to meet your chieftain, right?" All the Centaurs were silent because the taunt of Lloyd hit all of their nerves. Then all the Centaurs started to make their weird noise like they had gone wild. The captain of the Centaurs said, "The human has challenged me, the guard captain." The guard captain bumps his head at Lloyd and arrogantly said, "Here are the rules. The one who received the challenge will decide where the finish line is. The one who reaches first will get to decide what gets done. That is all." Lloyd replied, Sure. I already know what your traditions are like." Javier asks, "Should I do this?" Lloyd replied, "No, I will do it. I cannot let this be another Merman Kingdom situation where I am the only one who can't get things done. The master needs to win, so you can just follow me." Javier said, "That will be pretty hard to do though. The Centaur's running speed is said to be on par with Sword's master." Lloyd with his evil face said that it is a speed when they will run, but he told Javier that he did not plan to run at all. Lloyd is now cooking another evil plan. The captain guard pointed at the boulder and said, "The finish line will be the boulder's 200 meters in that direction." Then he proudly told Lloyd that he will show him just how pathetic the body of a human is. The Centaurs form a line and start stomping while making sounds of a car. The referee told them to get ready. With the stone from the slingshot was thrown, it was a go sign. The guard captain of Centaurs rushes so fast and Lloyd is left behind. The fellow Centaurs were cheering for their captain. Javier just looks at the situation. In his mind, this situation isn't one you can win by just talking big. But Lloyd picks up his hidden weapon, his legendary small shovel. Javier realized what his master was planning. Lloyd points the shovel on the ground and shouted blast. A large explosion was released by the shovel that boosted Lloyd to fly away and reach a fast speed. With that explosion, Lloyd passed through the Centaur guard who was running using his forelegs. Lloyd bumps into the large boulder. The impact is strong as it damages the boulder. Lloyd slowly falls down from it. The guard captain was speechless and didn't know what to say after what he saw. His fellow Centaurs also stopped from cheering because of what happened. This legendary ugly bastard starts laughing. He looks like a zombie who has gone mad. Blood were falling from his mouth because of the impact, but the most important is that he still won on the bet. Lloyd asks the Centaurs, "I was faster, wasn't I?" All the Centaurs were still in awe to see Lloyd win. They were all speechless. They only think of one thing. That is, Lloyd is the legendary Lightspeed human, from the greatest singer in hell and their role model. In the Centaur Plains, Lloyd gains another nickname. Lloyd has been laughing like a boss. He said, "Since I have won, you will bring me to your chieftain, right?" The Centaur's guard captain glared at him and told him that he don't want him to bring to their own chieftain. Lloyd asks, "What? Why?" The Centaur's guard captain angrily said, "Because you cheated, you bastard. You need to win by running." This hit the nerve of Lloyd because he felt pain in that winning race. His face turns into something that could scare a demon lord. He said, "As long as you are the fastest, you will be the top guy. That is the tradition of your tribe, isn't it? Enough with those excuses, freaking spring roll hair." The guard captain wants to stay his stand, but he remains silent and wants to call his mom because he was too scared to look at the legendary face of Lloyd Frontera. Then a female centaur appeared. She said, "Hey, guard captain, stop acting pathetic, will you?" The guard captain felt a relief calling the name of this female centaur as Sharonin. Sharonin said, "The fastest takes it all. That is our tradition. Since when was the word running included?" The strong guard captain of the Centaurs, who looks like a delinquent before, was acting like an innocent guy and a scared little puppy in front of Lloyd, who scared the shit out of him. Then Sharonin called Lloyd. She said, "You weird guy, follow me. I will bring you to the chieftain." After hearing that, Lloyd's confidence level starts to increase. He starts laughing in his thoughts while fixing his hair. In his mind, well, so this is how the situation is developing. Well, I understand. Lloyd and Javier follow Sharonin to go where the chieftain is. Lloyd was walking with tall shoulders. Javier noticed it and said, "You seem pretty proud." Lloyd replied, "Oh, I guess I feel like I am pretty popular with these people." Javier was confused about what his master had been saying. Lloyd proudly said, "Female centaurs like fast men. If two men propose to them, they just choose the faster of the two. Sharonin over there has fallen head over heels for me." Lloyd looks handsome in this panel though, but Javier knows what the truth is. He said, "No, she definitely hasn't." While Lloyd was thinking that Sharonin already fallen in love with his speed, he proudly said, "Huh? Are you jealous? I am not surprised. You have always thought you were handsome." But without even letting Lloyd have his moment, finishing what he is proud of, a kick fly in and reach Lloyd's stomach. Because of that strong kick from Sharonin, Lloyd rolls over to the ground. Sharonin looks back and said, "You might be fast, but your face needs to be at least average, you idiot." Lloyd was left on the ground bleeding and crying, plus a broken heart. Face card always matter in this verse. Lloyd was a victim of maltreatment because of his face. Javier goes to his master. He said, "Look at that. Those are the kind of eyes that you like to see." Lloyd asks, "You, how did you know at a glance?" Javier replied, "Because I have seen the eyes of numerous women who looked at me with, which is why I know it so well." Lloyd becomes more depressed after hearing that, but it is valid since almost every woman looks at him with disgust. Javier carries Lloyd, who was kicked down. Then Sharonin starts mumbling. She said, "It is so sickening. Everyone keeps talking about speed. Speed isn't everything." This made Lloyd confused because it is not a word he expects from a centaur. Then they arrived at the village of the Centaurs. Sharonin said, "At the end over there, the biggest tent is the chieftain's house. His name is Cherokee. He is my father." Lloyd and Javier were silent looking at Sharonin because they didn't expect she was the daughter of the chieftain. They go to the largest tent as what Sharonin instructed. The chieftain looks like the king of the mafia with tattoos and exhaust pipe that was attached in his body. Cherokee greets Lloyd. He said, "Nice to meet you, fast human who was acknowledged by my daughter." Lloyd looks at Cherokee like something is strange about him. So Cherokee asks, "Why are you looking at me that way?" Lloyd replied, "It is nothing. I was just wondering just what kind of fashion and story setting this is." Cherokee asks, "Story setting? Fashion? What is that?" Lloyd bowed down and said, "I, Lloyd Frontera, a human, came to look for something known as top. A long time ago, it was a part of the truth jewel, Aotearoa, if you know something about." But without even letting Lloyd to finish, Cherokee told him that the thing he needs is just right over there. Lloyd was speechless knowing that the thing he needed to find was just right at the corner. Lloyd shamelessly said without hesitation, "Please give it to me." Cherokee replied, "I heard you were fast, but it seems your shamelessness show itself just as quickly. Honestly, I have no use for it, but keeping it safe is part of our tradition. I cannot just give it to you." Lloyd was quite annoyed, but what Cherokee said, in his mind, "Damn, it will be really tough to forcefully take it though." Then Sharonin said, "Why bother sticking to useless traditions? They have come from just far away, just give it to them." Hearing that made Cherokee angry. He said, "You again, with those modern ideals of friendliness. Go out right now to run or find something to destroy." Hearing their argument made Lloyd think that the setting of this story and the things they teach in the family are a freaking mess. Sharonin asks her father, "Dad, you have heard of the legend of the Lightspeed human, right? He could be the one." Lloyd looks back and said, "Oh, I heard that just now too. It wasn't an ad-lib, huh? What is the Lightspeed human?" Sharonin replied, "It is a legend that is passed down from the ancient times. It is said that one day a human that fly at crazy speed will visit us. and that he will resolve the Centaur's speed. Hearing that, Shuriken said, I see. If you are really the legendary Lightspeed human, and you can really resolve our speed problem where we can't break new record anymore, I will gladly hand over the top to you. Hearing that caught the attention of Lloyd. In his mind, make them faster? They are already so fast. How do I do that? In the dark ruined place, where buildings were already shattered into pieces, there was this creepy large pot for cooking of something, or for evil rituals, as the place reeks of something evil. There was a hand that suddenly float on the water on the pot. It slowly regenerates and turns into something. Then that hand enlargen and form into something like a ghoul. The ghoul acts like he was a model in shampoo. That ghoul was actually Worthrod. He slowly moves away from the pot. He starts panting while cursing because of what happened. Worthrod starts coughing blood. He looks so thin, like a skeleton. He was like someone who was on the verge of dying, but he just got revived. In his mind, I can't believe I failed. Even ancient black magic didn't work against Lloyd, that bastard. Still, it is understandable that ancient black magic cannot work on Lloyd because his face is the strongest curse at all. Worthrod was about to lose hope. He slowly closes his eyes. In his mind, I have been revived with this appearance that is no different from a ghoul. What more can I even do? With my strength, I doubt there is anything. Then the King of Hell suddenly appeared. He saw the bad state of Worthrod. He said, "Goodness, what a sight! Didn't I tell you from the start? All you need to do is summon me in the world of the living. Then I will kill Lloyd Frontera for you. I told you the location of Targa Castle for that, and even helped you learn that forgotten ancient black magic. I understand your heart of wanting to take your own revenge, but you already know that your opponent isn't an easy one, don't you?" Worthrod didn't say anything and looked down out of frustration. Helcaros said, "If I can cross over to the world of the living, everything will be made simple. However, because of the rules of the world, I cannot physically cross the boundaries of hell." Helcaros said, "I will ask you again this time. Gather the required materials and summon me. I will complete your revenge for you." Hearing that made Worthrod start glaring once again, knowing that his goal for revenge was still ongoing. Helcaros said, "Then I will put a leash on Lloyd Frontera's soul and use him as my slave for eternity." Worthrod bows down and replied, "I swear that I will help you descend into this world, King of Hell. I don't know if Lloyd is in trouble right now because two crazy guys are aiming for his neck." In the Central Plains, Lloyd was thinking on how to fulfill the need of those centaurs. He said, "I have no idea what to do. Should I teach them the Azrahan core techniques so they can fly with Aura Blast?" Javier replied, "You already know they won't accept that, don't you? The Centaurs wanted to become faster with their running." Javier added, "Also, we should probably think about whether or not making them faster is a good thing in the first place. As you already saw, both the old and the young have injuries all over their bodies. They are all victims of the competition to become the fastest." Hearing that made Lloyd think. In his mind, now that he mentions it, Sheridan said it yesterday, that no matter how small the quarrel is, they always resolve it with race, especially when it's a competition for a female centaur. They would go absolutely crazy and run at full speed. That would create a literal chaotic mess. He remembers the time when Sheridan said that everyone keeps talking about speed, but speed isn't everything. Lloyd starts thinking deeply. In his mind, the legendary Lightspeed human will resolve their speed problem. Resolve? Think. Wait, resolving the issue doesn't only mean making their faster, right? On the other hand, there is some thug-like guy who was hitting at Sheridan. He called Sheridan while giving her a flower. He said, "Sheridan, accept my marriage proposal already." Sheridan, who was quite annoyed by this guy presence, just takes a sigh. This thug-like bastard laughs and show off his tongue like a perverted bastard. He said, "There you go again, acting like you don't enjoy this. I am the unified champion of the Centaurs, Comanche. All the women are dying for my love. I seriously doubt you are not the same. Am I wrong?" Comanche grabs the hand of Sheridan. He said, "Stop acting all pure and let's go for a race date among the flowers." This made Sheridan angry and kick him in the stomach. Sheridan shouted, "You bastard! I told you not to touch me, didn't I?" This made Comanche cough from that kick. Sheridan said, "Didn't I tell you I hate people like you who trust nothing but their own speed?" Comanche angrily replied, "Being fast is all that matters. What more is needed?" Even Chieftain Cherokee has acknowledged me as his son-in-law. Why are you rejecting me? Comanche forcibly grabs Sharon in this time and he shouted, do you think your father will sit by and do nothing if he knows you are acting like this? Just marry me, the next chieftain quietly. Then some guy grabs the shoulder of Comanche. This guy looks like a protagonist in the series. The guy said, stop it, you are making her uncomfortable. Seeing his Prince Charming protecting her, Sharon's heart suddenly beat so fast and she stuttered while mentioning the name of the guy as Shumel. But this delinquent bastard, Comanche, instead of getting annoyed, he starts laughing at Shumel. Then Comanche starts taunting Shumel. He laughs and said, snail bastard, are you trying to be a busybody again? You are not sick of doing this, huh? Can't you hear how they scorn you? You have lost to me 8 times already. Don't you know someone as slow as you doesn't deserve to talk to me? Then Comanche, pointing at Sharon, who was silent at this time, said, see, even she has given up on your side. Comanche starts laughing again. He said, look at him averting his eyes. You are just someone who loses to anyone. Stop interfering others' affairs. Even though Shumel was disgraced by Comanche, he didn't even say anything to protect himself because he had already lost to everyone in the race. Hearing Comanche and his lackeys laughing out loud made Lloyd annoyed. In his mind, those bastards, I don't like them a bit. Those guys are in total doom because we all know what happened to those people who annoyed Lloyd. As the sun slowly sets down, Sharon approached Shumel and called him. She said, Shumel, I am sorry for just now. If I took your side just now, the two of you were going to race each other again. Then I would have to. But Shumel didn't let Sharon finish her sentence because he didn't want Sharon to blame herself. Shumel said, I am the one who is supposed to be sorry. It is because I am slow. I am unable to convince anyone. That is why the chieftain hasn't acknowledged me yet. Sharon said, who says you are slow? I know that you are fast, that you are the fastest in this world. Shumel, who was ashamed of himself, told Sharon that he had never won in a single race before. Sharon stand her ground. She said, I don't care about something like that. I am going to marry you. I don't care about my father's acknowledgement. I am the one who likes you. Shumel told Sharon that he didn't like it that way. Hearing that hurt the feelings of Sharon and tears start falling in her eyes. Shumel added, no one would congratulate the marriage of someone who always loses like me. I really hate Comanche, but you should at least meet someone who is fast. You should meet someone that you can be proud of. Someone you can proudly say is your man. Then Shumel slowly walks away without even looking back. Hearing that words from Shumel, who is the one that she loves, made Sharon cry. She didn't even have the courage to say a word of comfort. But Sharon wasn't given enough screen time for her emotions or to cry hard because the love expert suddenly appeared. The love expert who doesn't even know that the queen already has feelings for her. Lloyd asks, may I ask, what is going on here? Then Sharon starts talking everything out with Lloyd. They start walking while talking. Sharon said, Shumel is fast. I am serious. Lloyd replied, yeah, I'm sure he is much faster than anyone. Sharon asks, how would you know that? You have never even seen him run. Lloyd proudly replied, call it my instincts. The shape of his head looks like he runs fast. In Lloyd's mind, even though the story settings of this world hasn't appeared in the novel, it will eventually appear from the author of the Iron Blood Knight's mind. In that case, he must have been named Shumel for some reason. Sharon said, no matter how fast Shumel is, no one cares about personal records. They only care about how much of a gap they won on the race. Lloyd asks, is he unable to use his full speed in a race? He is the kind that gets nervous? Sharon said, no, that is not it. A few months ago, the same thing happened, like today. Both of them were about to have an impromptu race based on our tradition, with a slingshot as a sign for the start of the race. They both run as fast as they can, but Shumel encountered a child eating a candy on the road, which is why he forcefully slow himself. Shumel avoid the kid and he falls down. On the other hand, Comanche was trying to chase down Shumel. Seeing Shumel falls down made Sharon in shock. On the other hand, instead of slowing down to avoid the child, Comanche runs crazy and didn't mind the kid on the road. Shumel got injured, but the child was even more injured. That is what always happened. Shumel is kind. Compared to winning the race and marrying me, he is more concerned about making sure that no one around him gets injured. Lloyd asks, if someone was injured, was there no one who objected to the race? Wouldn't the Centaurs who had nothing to do with the race not like that? Sharon's tears start falling. She said, no, Centaurs put their lives on the line when it comes to tradition. They must kept no matter what. What kind of stupid tradition is that? Lloyd smiled and said, don't be too angry. I am sure there is a reason why the tradition is kept. Sharon angrily said, what does an outsider like you know? What kind of reason could there be? Lloyd smirked and replied, because they are brainless idiots. Hearing that made Sharon silent. Lloyd said, oh, did I just read your mind? Sorry, but what is your ranking in terms of speed? Sharon said, I am number 2. Number 1 was my dad, but after he retired, that obnoxious Comanche became number 1. Lloyd smiled and said, aha, so excluding the chieftain and the current number 1, the rest have to listen to you then? Sharon was sweating because this guy looks like a scammer. Sharon said, well, that is supposed to be the case. That depends on the situation. If I try to do something like been running, Comanche or my dad can just overturn it by objecting. Lloyd said, I want to make a request to you. Please gather all your tribe members in one place. He smiled and confidently said, I will uproot the evil practice completely and make Shumel the fastest champion of the Centaurs. Lloyd is now cooking another well-planned event on the side area of the Central Plains where Centaurs usually walk by. Lloyd was waiting for a Centaur that would be his victim. This guy was full of black and dark aura. Javier asks, what on earth are you doing? Lloyd replied, I will be waiting for the first target of my bigger picture. Javier was confused what his master was saying. Then Lloyd suddenly heard a noise that someone was walking by in the area. It was one of the delinquent Centaurs that would become a target. Lloyd starts showing his tongue thinking that it looks great. Lloyd looks at him like a delicious food on the table. Then he slowly stands up. Lloyd slowly walks to where that delinquent Centaur is walking. Lloyd acts like a mafia boss this time. Then even on that large road that they can walk through, Lloyd chooses to bump this delinquent Centaur. The Centaur looks affected and said, damn, what the hell? Lloyd looks at this guy and glares at him like he owns the territory. Then he looks back and slowly walks away without even apologizing. What Lloyd has done hit the nerve of the delinquent-like Centaur. The delinquent Centaur shouted, come here, you bastard. Race me. If you lose, I will kick you with my legs 300 times. But Lloyd acts like a bastard this time. A guy who looks like finding trouble. Lloyd said, huh? What? How could a mere human like me race against you? The Centaurs angrily point his finger and said, in Centaur tradition, you don't get to refuse. We are racing right away, you bastard. Then Lloyd smirked at him. Actually, there was a lot of Centaurs that gathered in the area and they start making weird car noises and continuously cheering that Lloyd needed to race him. But Lloyd smiled seeing all the crowd because this was all part of his plan. Lloyd is still making his ugly gloomy face while the Centaurs are making the sound of a honk. This annoys more the delinquent Centaur. Lloyd said, man, I cannot just disrespect your tradition. It cannot be helped, then let's follow your tradition. The delinquent Centaur said, you pick where the finish line is since you accepted the challenge. Lloyd points at the tree and said, in that case, how about we cross the village and race until that tree over there? The delinquent Centaur said that he agreed and on for that plan. Sharon didn't understand what Lloyd is doing and starts asking her mind what does this guy plans while watching on the sidelines. Sharon remembers the time before that. Lloyd told her, before we gather all the Centaurs in one spot, there is a preparation that needs to be done. A catalyst that will help both you and I our victory. Sharon didn't say anything and trusts Lloyd's plan. Going back, the delinquent Centaur shouted, and from what I heard, you are the lightspeed human or something and fly with magic. You gotta run. This will be a race using our legs. Lloyd continues to taunt this guy. He said, come on, that is a little unfair. I only have 2 legs and you have 4 legs. Isn't that unfair? The thug Centaur replied, is flying fair then? Lloyd proposes something. He said, how about this then? I will ride something that has 4 legs. The delinquent Centaur was confident. He said, do as you please. Among all 4-legged creatures, the Centaurs are the fastest after all. Then he shouted, telling everyone that the race will start now. But the four-legged creature that Lloyd had summoned was no other than his legendary Pokemon Podong. Compared to the size of Podong, the Centaur looks like an ant. The delinquent Centaur said that Lloyd ride was something that is too big. Lloyd slaps his head. He said, "Oops. On a second look, I agree with you. I also want to ride something else really bad." Then he glared at the delinquent Centaur and said, "But what can I do? The rule can't be changed since we are following the tradition." This made the delinquent Centaur annoyed, but he still didn't say anything. Lloyd always finds loopholes in everything and uses it to his own advantage. A slingshot was raised once again as the signal to start of the race. Then both Podong run together with the delinquent Centaur. Podong was doing his best this time. Their speed is almost equal. The Centaurs were cheering. They said, "Wow, they are neck to neck. Run and run, you guys." But they were amazed when Podong starts to overtake the Centaur. But because of the tent, the road starts to get closer. The Centaurs shouted, "The course is getting narrower. The first to get past that route will win." The delinquent Centaur was alarmed to see that Podong was already near him and they were about to bump into each other. As they bump into each other, the Centaur, Podong, and Lloyd was thrown away in different areas. Lloyd was shouting as he was falling down from that impact. And among the large crowd that was watching the race, Lloyd was about to fall on one kid Centaur who was on the side. The kid starts to panic as he sees Lloyd falling. As Lloyd hit the ground, he didn't stay in one place, but instead, he rolled to the ground due to the impact. But luckily almost all Centaurs were able to avoid it. The referee shouted, "It is a draw! A draw! Both of them are knocked out." Sharonin was shocked to see the result of the race. On the other hand, Javier didn't expect it. In his mind, I thought he was trying to achieve something by winning. Did Kim Suho fail? The kid who was nearly hit by Lloyd was still in panic and was distressed because of what happened. The kid was panting. His parents run to him and his mother asks, "Are you all right?" But the Centaurs are calling Lloyd and asking Lloyd to wake up since he is totally knocked out. Night comes in one of the tents in the central plains of Centaurs. The child was still in fear because of trauma from nearly being hit during the race of Lloyd and the delinquent Centaur. He was still shaking and he can't even put the food in his mouth during dinner. The mom was so worried that tears fall in her eyes. She said, "Oh no, you are still looking pale." The mother hugs her child to comfort him. She said, "That damn tradition. Why does my child have to suffer because of it?" The father heard what the mother of the young Centaur said. It made the father angry and he said, "Don't say something so stupid. That is how we all grow up." The mother angrily replied, "He's trembling so much right now. How could you say that? It is not just his body that has been hurt. He has been traumatized on top of that." Seeing the situation and after hearing what his wife had said, the father had realized about the wrong things about the tradition. Still, the child looks traumatized and was shaking non-stop. In the end, he just looks at the newspaper because there is nothing that he can do. The father told his wife that it can't be helped due to their tradition. But the hero of the night that could hear everyone's screams and pains was listening outside the tent of the family of the victim of this cruel tradition. This guy didn't do anything and just listened. Then he walks away peacefully. Maybe this guy who had done many things is cooking another plan for the betterment of the life of this poor family of Centaurs. Then the morning comes and the Centaurs are gathered in one area. Murmur starts to spread. They say, "What? Why did Sharonin gather everyone? Oh, what is that banner? The Lightspeed's human lecture. Will all your speed be alright at this rate?" Then the main manipulator, Lloyd Frontera, was the one in front of the crowd, the one who initiates this event. He said, "All right, everyone, let's take a seat and settle down. My lecture will start soon." Hearing that, one Centaur starts to murmur. He said, "In yesterday's race, he really wasn't that fast though." Another Centaur replied, "I don't care. Let's just act like we are listening and go." Like he was the guest of honor, Lloyd smiled and said, "Everyone, you must be thinking I am so ridiculous and wondering who am I to lecture all of you about being fast, right?" Then Lloyd raises his finger and pointed at the Centaurs while glaring at them. He said, "However, I think all of you are ridiculous. You thoughtless rampaging lunatics." Hearing that made all the Centaurs angry as their blood started boiling looking at Lloyd. Sharonin was also confused what does this bastard was doing. But Lloyd didn't stop his speech. He said, "You all must have a screw loose in your head. What the hell are you guys doing just to protect the ridiculous tradition of yours? You have tons of injured tribe members, destroyed items, and homes. Are you really a civilized tribe? Yesterday, I was walking along the streets and someone picked a fight with me, so I had no choice but to be forced to participate in a race following your tradition. Even we all know that Lloyd was the one who started the fight. Lloyd starts his drama show as his tears starts falling down. He said, a child experienced a trauma caused by an accident that he can never forget. The race should be fun, and that is how it is supposed to be. But every centaur here has gotten injured before. We are supposed to bear with that much, for the sake of speed and our tradition. The mother of the young centaur realized that what Lloyd said is the truth. As she is the mother of that child, she knows how hard it is for her child to suffer from trauma. But the other centaur starts sharing their stand. They shouted, "You are just an outsider. You don't know anything. We are totally fine with that. Get lost." The mother centaur cannot stand it anymore after hearing what her fellow centaur said. She shouted, "I am not fine with it, you barbaric idiots. What is my child supposed to do?" The conservative centaurs shouted, "Damn, have you gone crazy? The tradition is something we have protected for more than 10,000 years. Exile her right now." Lloyd didn't say anything and listens to the stand of the centaur. The father of the child also agrees with her wife. He shouted, "Honestly, we are barbaric though. Are you really okay with this? Everyone is seriously fine with it." Another mother of an injured child cried and shouted, "I will be honest. I don't like this either. My child's arm is injured." But the conservative centaurs told the mother that just is how things work in their tribe. One of the centaurs on progressivist side shouted, "I am so sick with this. My mother got injured too. Stop this already." A conservative centaur shouted, "How dare you insult the pride of the centaurs?" Another victim shouted, "Me too. What am I to do with my leg? I have been limping. Get rid of the evil practice. Bring down the idea that speed is everything." While two sides are arguing with one another, the mother of that young centaur can only hug him. The young centaur who was traumatized a while ago looks up on the side where Lloyd was standing. Lloyd raised his thumbs up on the child. The child also agrees with Lloyd and raises his thumbs up. This young fella was actually acting and has been part of the plot that was written by the greatest manipulator, Lloyd Frontera. Javier saw the child and Lloyd's reactions and looked at the two different sides of the coin that was debating with one another. In Javier's mind, don't tell me, did he plan everything? But actually, before the race, the kid and Lloyd had an agreement. Lloyd shows him a lot of money to bribe the kid. Lloyd pats the kid and said, "Kid, do you need money? Do you want to do some acting with me?" The kid laughs and told Lloyd that his acting was quite expensive though. Lloyd and this kid deserves an Oscar for fooling the whole tribe of Centaur. Now it is time for the maestro who plot everything in his hand to show what are his aces. This guy was the greatest genius among all geniuses, not only in engineering but on everything. Lloyd expands his arms as he saw the effects of the plot he made. For him, this is what a war of public opinion is like. Bro once controlled the whole desert with only two phrases. Lloyd is water and water is Lloyd, then the whole place becomes under his hands. Now with a few acting, he was able to make a battle of opinion in the whole tribe. The debate between two different sides continues. Many are complaining about being hit during the race. There are even shouting that this gangster tribe must turn into ruins. While conservative centaurs are shouting that those who are opposing the tradition are the rebels of the tribe. Of course, while the two sides were on the bound of killing one another with their arguments, the orchestrator and the master manipulator Lloyd Frontera, or Kim Suho in the past life, was watching how things are going to end. This guy looks like a boss who was watching different sides presenting their stand. The extreme conservatives shouted, "Execute all those who deny the tribe's spirit. Destroy the rebels of the tribe." While on the other side, the extreme progressivists shouted, "We don't need such tribe. Disband this tribe. Disband this tribe right now." But the orchestrator was looking at them with a sigma face. They call him in this manhwa as Agrippa. Agrippa was a Roman general, statesman, and architect who was a close friend and advisor of Emperor Augustus. Because of this chaos, Sharonin called Lloyd. She said, "Hey, what are you planning to do? Why have you started a fight?" Lloyd looks at Sharonin and replied, "Huh? When did I ever start a fight? I just said that it is dangerous as there was an accident." Sharonin was confused, but she didn't say anything. This guy was acting innocent when we all know he was the mastermind. Javier, who listens to everything that Lloyd says and sees the child's reaction a while ago, knows that his master is the one who started a fight. Not only is his face legendary, but the shamelessness of Lloyd is god level. Then the chieftain Cherokee suddenly appeared. He asks, "Why is it so noisy?" This caught the attention of both Lloyd and Sharonin. The orchestrator of this chaos slowly rise up from his sit. Seeing Cherokee in Lloyd's mind, finally, the final boss has arrived. Cherokee called Lloyd. He said, I told you to solve our tribe's speed issue. What exactly are you doing?" Lloyd bows down to the chieftain and replied, "I was faithfully carrying out my duties, but I am encountering difficulties. The opinion of the tribe's people doesn't align. One side wants to run wildly anytime and anywhere, while the other side wants to abolish such traditions. So, after thinking it over, how about this?" Lloyd raises his finger for his first proposal. He said, "First, let's set speed regulations. No sprinting in the village. No impromptu competitions." Most centaurs are doing a thumbs down since they are not agreeing with it. They shouted, "Don't be ridiculous. Get lost. Where is the fairness in that? Who do you think you are? Do you think you are something special?" Even many disagree with it. Lloyd continues and raises his second proposal. He said, "Second, let's build a very large sprinting arena. All the competitions will be held there." The chieftain continues to listen what Lloyd proposes. Lloyd said, "Think about it. A place with no obstacles. A track dedicated solely for running. Someone, thanks to that environment, might set an unprecedented record." Hearing that, Sharonin got what Lloyd is pointing out. It is an area where they can race however they want, an area which is better for a kind centaur like Shumel. Lloyd said, "That way, accidents will be eliminated, and new records will be achieved. That is the best way to solve the issue and get to the top." The other centaurs start cheering, saying that Lloyd's idea was great. But the chieftain seems to disagree what Lloyd said. The chieftain is on the extreme conservative side. Cherokee said, "Don't be ridiculous. What kind of tribe will we be if we have to run in arenas? That is nonsense. What has kept our centaurs going until now is our instinct to sprint and respond immediately in any situation. It is a long-standing tradition that saved us in the Great Tribal War. We can't abandon that." Lloyd asks, "Aren't you about to start a tribal war right now?" Cherokee replied, "It's a respect for our history and our ancestors." Other centaurs seems to agree what Lloyd had proposed. They said, "Chief, that human is right. It is time for a change. We must prevent more accidents." Sharonin also agrees. She said, "Even if my dad opposes it, I will push through. I will approve the construction of the arena." The other centaurs starts cheering for Sharonin, but others still oppose. The conservative said, "What are you talking about? You can go to the arena by yourselves." Because of those murmur, the chieftain said, "Do you hear that? Our tribe is splitting into two." Sharonin said that there is no other choice. The argument still continues. Other side wants the chieftain to approve the construction. The other side wants Lloyd Frontera to be kicked out. The chieftain said, "Because of you, there is no turning back. So you are predetermined to push through with this arena construction thing, right?" Lloyd replied, "Yes, if you approve it." Cherokee said, "All right, I Cherokee challenge you, the Lightspeed human, to a duel." Cherokee glares at Lloyd, saying that if he wins, Lloyd will leave the place immediately. On the other hand, Lloyd didn't back down and said that if he will win, he will build the arena. The crowd were cheering as they were about to start the race. Lloyd on the right corner was ready and prepared for the race. Javier asks, "No exploding, no riding on Podong, Bibiong, or another pets you have. You accepted all the conditions. Do you have any tricks up your sleeve?" Lloyd told him that he doesn't have something like that and he will just run. Javier said, "I have heard that Cherokee have a record of 380 consecutive victories. From my perspective, it seems unlikely that you will win." Lloyd said, "This match is about reaching the starting point after going through all the checkpoints. As the challenger, I have chosen the checkpoint. They need to reach the northern border of the Magentano Kingdom and a crazy round trip of 600 kilometers. Then Lloyd smiled and said, "And this is precisely why, as a human, I have an advantage." And now the race was about to start. Lloyd starts doing some short warm-up for his body. All the centaurs are watching. They are now asked to prepare for the race. Comanche together with Sharonin are watching, and Sharonin looks worried. As the race was about to start, many thoughts are rushing in Lloyd's head. In his mind, everyone here thinks that we humans are weak animals, weaker than a small chimpanzee. It is hard to find an animal slower than humans among mammals. However, that is not the case. Contrary to the popular belief, humans are much stronger. Lloyd was serious at this time. For the last time, the slingshot was used once again as a sign for the start of the race. After that sign, Cherokee hurriedly rushed to increase the gap between him and Lloyd. But on the other hand, while Cherokee was already far ahead to Lloyd, Lloyd was just in a preparation state. The audience were looking at Lloyd as he slowly stands up. Then Lloyd's feet started to move slowly. He moves like he was jogging in the park. The Centaurs start laughing at Lloyd. They said, "What is that? The match is already over. He is a two-legged animal. Totally pathetic." But Lloyd didn't mind those Centaurs who are laughing and underestimating him. He continues to run. In his mind, yeah, that is how it is. How could a physically inferior humans overwhelm other creatures and advance civilization? Of course, the first reason is because they are smart. The speed of Cherokee was still so fast as he ran towards the goal. But later he slows down from being tired of running with that speed for a long time. For Lloyd, the second reason they were able to advance is that they have the overwhelming ability to run long distances. Lloyd continues to run. He is now panting and sweating from the long distance that he runs. He never gives up even with a large difference in speed. In his mind, although I am nowhere as fast as the four-legged muscle monster's explosive speed, I am able to preserve energy because I am bipedal. I can even regulate heat within my body with perspiration. This is the greatest kind of body in the history of Earth that managed to hunt successfully, even in hell. But the system and the winter butt know what are the things that runs in Lloyd's mind. The winter heart said, "Why the hell are you talking so much to yourself? Are you having a heat stroke?" The system told the winter heart to leave Lloyd alone since his thoughts are usually chaotic like this. Lloyd said, "You guys are the chaos. What the hell are you doing within my mind?" But while Lloyd was continuously running, he saw Cherokee near the large stone having a rest because of tiredness. In Lloyd's mind, oh dear, looks like the 380 times winning champion ran too fast in the first half. Seeing that, Lloyd smiles like he hit a jackpot. In his mind, well, I already knew this would happen when I started this. But when Cherokee looks at Lloyd, Cherokee has a look that is something that fully relax and have already rest. A character who already regenerates his HP and mana. I don't know how to put this, but Cherokee looks like Thomas Andre from Solo Leveling. Seeing Cherokee on the closer look made Lloyd confused. In his mind, huh? He looks a little different from what I expected. I didn't think he would look so normal. Cherokee just run with the same pace at Lloyd. He said, "Gosh, long distances sure are tiring. Centaurs are really fast, but we get tired quickly. You suggested this race because you knew that, right? You are smart, really smart." Lloyd looks at Cherokee because he saw through his plans. Cherokee glares at Lloyd. He said, "But you know, you made a mistake. You didn't take my recovery speed into account." Lloyd was shocked to hear that. Cherokee told Lloyd that he will see him then. After that, Cherokee runs as fast and the same thing happens. Lloyd was left behind once again. Lloyd starts cursing in his head because of what happened. He starts to question his mind. Isn't this kinda dangerous? The night comes and the race still continues since it is a 100 kilometers race. Lloyd was panting while running. In his mind, calm down. I just need to run at my own pace. To the end. Just like I first started. To the end. Just like I first started. And Lloyd saw Cherokee, who was actually waiting for him. Then Cherokee salutes at Lloyd. After waving his salute, he runs so fast and was able to run at a long distance in such a short amount of time. Lloyd was left once again. Lloyd was silent after that fast sprint. He starts overthinking in his mind. Damn, I won't make it. I am going to lose. This is a losing race. Then he starts waving his head as he was panicking. In his mind, no, it is not it. He starts to question his mind. What if I fail while doing that? This is a fight of pace and endurance. And then the sun rises and the race still continues. Lloyd looks like a monkey this time because of too much exhaustion from running all day and all night. He now reaches the Magentano Empire's northern border. The soldier guarding the border was confused what was Lloyd doing there. And also, Cherokee had already reached first and was waiting at Lloyd. Cherokee looks at the poor situation and said, well, I wanted to go once I saw you a bit, but you kept me waiting for so long. Without further talk, Cherokee sprints down and runs away. Lloyd stumbles on the door due to exhaustion from running, and then runs back. The soldier didn't say anything. Maybe he was thinking that Lloyd was doing a marathon run. Lloyd was about to surrender because of too much exhaustion. In his mind, that monster. Forget it. I don't care about the arena anymore. There is nothing I can do about this. How do I get the top though? Okay, let's steal it. I am not obligated to solve their problem. But Lloyd remembers something about Sharonin and Shumel. Sharonin once said, if only the tradition of our race was a little different. If we were born in a different place, in a different world, Shumel would be able to be much faster. He also remembers his miserable life in the past as Kim Suho, who struggled hard life. With that, Lloyd gains once again the determination to continue. Lloyd shouted, damn it! Then he continuously says his marching chant, which is to the end, just like I first started. But on the other hand, even with fast recovery speed, Cherokee, who has gotten old, felt the exhaustion in his body. The long run caused a great toll in his body. Lloyd just continues to run and says his marching chant again until the night comes. He says, to the end, just like I first started. To the end, just like I first started. He was able to pass by and go ahead with Cherokee, but Cherokee didn't want to give up and slowly stands up. Then, like from the first time, Cherokee runs like Naruto and then sprint, leaving Lloyd behind again. Both Lloyd and Cherokee were reaching their limit. Cherokee still runs until the sun rises once again, but Cherokee stumbles into something as he gone slower and falls down to the ground because of sprinting. Cherokee was panting so much, he slowly stands up to gain his ground. He said, ho ho, I am no longer like I was in my prime. It is as if I am being told to retire already. Cherokee stands up and panting very hard. He looks at the surroundings. There he saw an illusion, the love between his daughter Sharonin and Shumel. Sharonin looks so happy while being with Shumel. Cherokee starts preparing his racing stance once again and then run like he used to do. In his mind, Sharonin, I know who is the one that you're truly love, but I can't ignore our tradition just because you are my daughter. Until someone appears and tell us that we can rest easy and stop protecting the old tradition we have protected. Lloyd was really exhausted and sweating this time. On the other hand, Cherokee had gone mad and wants to race till the end. He didn't want to give up and starts making car noises. He sprints so fast and left Lloyd. He wants to see if Lloyd possessed the things he wants to see. He wants Lloyd to prove himself. Many Centaurs are waiting on the finish line. The Oscar award-winning child pointed something, telling the Centaurs that he saw something over there. Sharonin and Shumel looks to see who was it. It was actually Lloyd and Cherokee, who is doing their best just to win the race. They are neck to neck this time around. Even the two were both reaching their limit. No one wants to give up in this race. While the Centaurs were cheering, Javier on the side just watched his master's determination. Javier must be thinking that Lloyd will pull up some tricks. Looking at his master's situation, in Javier's mind, Kim Suho's out of mana, but he must still have something up his sleeves. His depleted mana always comes back in an explosive manner. The system asks Lloyd if he wants to use his skill energizer to regain his depleted mana and to recover from exhaustion. But Lloyd didn't mind the system and continue his chant, to the end, just like I first started. Even the system tries to call Lloyd again, he didn't mind it and continues to chant, to the end, just like I first started. Javier was shocked to see that Lloyd never used that. The two continue to race and they are doing their best not to give up. Their body has already reached their limit and only their determination are the one that keeps them moving. Although they are neck to neck, Cherokee still has an advantage in running. Lloyd could only look at the back of Cherokee while running. He was panting so hard. In his mind, I am so darn tired. Why isn't this old man falling yet? But at this time the old man chieftain Cherokee falls down as his feet was slowly giving up. Lloyd was still running and was able to pass through Cherokee. But this old man doesn't want to fall down easily. He could just rest, but he still fight for the race. Lloyd was praying that Cherokee will just fall already. On the other hand, the old man was thinking on how to overcome himself and the fatigue of exhaustion. As Lloyd continuously run, he felt that his body sink into the deepest water. Lloyd felt that his steps were so heavy. At that time, Lloyd realized that he is now at his limit. Lloyd remembers his past life as Kim Soo-ho. While he was eating meat with his friend, his nose suddenly bleed. As soon as he notices that his nose bleeding, he started cursing because it suddenly happened. His friend took a handkerchief and smirked at Kim Soo-ho. He said, "Dude, you are not just poor, you are weak too." His friend wipes the nose of Kim Soo-ho. He said, "Raise your head. If you die due to blood loss, you won't be able to get your pay for your labor work, right?" Kim Soo-ho grabs his hand and said, "Nobody's asking you for help. I will do it myself." Kim Soo-ho apologized to his friend saying he was sorry. His friend asks him about what he was sorry for. Kim Soo-ho replied, "Oh, because I had a nosebleed while we are eating." His friend was silent after hearing that. His friend said, "It was really strange. Don't you feel that you are pretty and balanced?" Kim Soo-ho, who was wiping his nose, asks his friend, "What does he mean?" His friend said, "You are top in academic results, you are smart, and you've got a great tenacity. Someone like you should be really full of self-confidence. But strangely enough, you are kinda lacking in that aspect." Kim Soo-ho just listens to his friend. His friend added, "It is like a little that you are from some other world, but can't get used to this world. There are a lot of comics and animations where the hero is incredible and powerful in some other world but can't even breathe properly when they are in this world." Kim Soo-ho smiles and told his friend that he has been quiet since he was young. His friend washes the handkerchief and wipes the nose of Kim Soo-ho once again. He said, "I won't be able to buy you meals in barbecue restaurants anymore." Kim Soo-ho was alarmed to hear what his friend said. His friend said, "My father and mother got caught cheating people with a politician. They are going to trial now, but they will be going to found guilty. A few days later, they will become penniless beggars." Kim Soo-ho wasn't able to speak because he didn't know what to reply. His friend smirked and points at himself. He said, "My current expression. This is what my parents always had on their faces ever since I was born. It looks so naturally obnoxious. Isn't it freaking awesome? I don't have any money to buy you anything anymore. You don't have to meet me anymore." Kim Soo-ho replied, "What are you talking about? You yourself know that you are my only friend. You have done so much for me." His friend smiled and said, "Friends are about give and take. What can you learn by sticking with me? Do you know why I stuck around with you? That is because you are freaking awesome." Kim Soo-ho looks worried by what his friend said. His friend added, "Your situation is freaking horrible, but you don't give up. I come from a wealthy family, so I got everything I wanted. So, if I get put in a situation like yours, I think I might die right away. Tell me, how do I become strong like you?" Kim Soo-ho can't look directly because of what his friend said. He replied, "What am I strong at? I only do the usual stuff every single day. Study and work. Study more and work more." His friend looks at him seriously. He said, "Aha, okay, just you wait. Once I think I become someone as incredible as you, I will come back and find you to buy you 10 portions of meat for barbecue. I just resolved my heart to give it a good try. I just need to do what I do to the end, like I first started, right?" And that is how Kim Soo-ho, or the present Lloyd, got what he was chanting while running. Lloyd had gone crazy, overcoming the limits of the human body as he ran, even though his body had passed the limit of a human. Even Javier was shocked to see the determination of Lloyd in the race that he even planned through. Lloyd raises his leg even though it carries a large burden. Every foot he moves weighing something like he is being strangled by the deep ocean. Javier was amazed looking at his master struggling with determination to win. In Javier's mind, what is with that tenacity of his? He's always overcome difficult trials so far, but this is his first time not relying on those mysterious abilities of his. Is a normal human even capable of displaying such mental prowess? I thought it didn't matter who are you as long as you saved our territory. But now, I want to know. I want to know what kind of life you have lived in your world. Even I wanted to have a prequel on how Lloyd have lived on Earth and how he terrorizes his high school classmates and teachers. Everyone was silent as they look at the two racers doing their best. There is no sound that can be heard, only their deep breathing of the two contenders. The two continuously run, and Cherokee was the one who is ahead of Lloyd. Lloyd didn't want to give up, but his body slowly gives up in the end. His eyes are slowly closing due to the exhaustion. In the end, his body gives up and his eyes fully closes. When Lloyd opens his eyes, he saw the clear sun and Javier was looking at him. While panting heavily, he asks Javier if he win in the race. Javier closes his eyes and looks at where Cherokee is. Cherokee was totally knocked out because of exhaustion and he wasn't able to reach the finish line. Javier told Lloyd that yes, he won again this time. Javier helps Lloyd and told him to stand up. Lloyd looks in the front of him and Cherokee already gained his ground and was about to announce the result. Cherokee opens his arms widely, and he shouted, "Everyone, listen up. Our tribe will usher in a new age." The crowd started cheering after hearing what Cherokee announced. Lloyd becomes so proud that his nose suddenly becomes longer. He said, "Yeah, everything went according to plan. We just need to build the arena and take the top now." Javier replied, "Looking at your state, I doubt this was your plan." Javier looks at Lloyd. He said, "I'm curious about something. Why didn't you use those mysterious power you have?" Lloyd was silent after hearing that question. On the other hand, Sheridan was worried to his father, but Cherokee was flexing his muscle saying that he was okay. Lloyd was shy to say this, but he said, "Because that old man ran with all his heart. I felt like I would be cheating if I used those, so I didn't." Then the system said, "Just you have a mana heart is already cheating." Lloyd replied, "That is a passive skill. What am I supposed to do with that?" Javier just takes a sigh after hearing the answer of Lloyd. Javier bows down and said, "Let's start the construction. I will do whatever I can and give it my all, Master Lloyd." Lloyd, who was confused, asks, "Oh, why am I suddenly Master Lloyd again?" Javier seriously replied, "Because you are someone who is worthy of being referred to as such." In Javier's mind, yes, this man, Kim Suho, I will protect him even if it costs me my life. I don't know, maybe his old friend in his past life was reincarnated as Javier in this isekai world. Lloyd starts meeting up with the chieftain for the preparation of construction. Both him and Javier bows down. Lloyd said, "We need to start building the arena soon. It looks like a construction should take about a year, but I am quite pressed for time. I would like to use my ability to stop the time of the world excluding this area. I am actually someone from another world and I gained quite a few abilities as I crossed over to this world. So, it will be difficult for your tribe members to get out of the plains." Javier just listens. Even Lloyd told the chieftain about his hidden secrets. In Javier's mind, I am not surprised that he can stop time, but I am surprised that he revealed who he really is. But the crazy guy like Cherokee who only thinks about race and speed didn't mind what Lloyd said. He told Lloyd that he can do whatever he wants. After hearing that in Javier's mind, wait, I am even more surprised by him. Lloyd goes to a large vacant lot in the Central Plains. Lloyd shouted, calling the skill window. A time freeze notification pops up. The notification told Lloyd that the time freeze can manifest the authority of the winter butt that is in Lloyd's heart and freeze the flow of time. Lloyd has 4,655 RP and the RP needed for the skill usage is 3,000. Then the window system asks Lloyd if he would like to use time freeze. Then this guy who read manhwa and watch anime throws the shovel and act like he would become a Power Ranger. This guy shouted time freeze and clicked the yes button. He acts like he was Ben 10 clicking the Omnitrix. With that, the authority of the winter butt has manifested. The winter butt was about to transform, but before that, the winter heart said, "I am not the winter butt, you bastards." Lloyd shouted like crazy as the power of the winter heart has been manifested. Even seconds of time passed, he still shouted like crazy. Until there was no voice that can be heard, and he was shaking because he was out of breath from shouting. Javier just watches on the side because he knows how crazy his master is. The Central Plains was a flat but very vast land. After that winter heart manifested, it was coated with an atmosphere-like thing that covered the whole Central Plains. Lloyd looks disappointed, saying that it was already done. Javier looks at Lloyd, telling him that what happened was so anticlimactic. Lloyd could only agree. Lloyd with Javier walks towards the sphere that separates him from the outside. He told Javier that they need to take a look, and as Lloyd looks at it, Lloyd was speechless after seeing the result. The cat chasing a butterfly was not moving at all. Lloyd stands up and said, "Well, it looks like it works." Javier said, "There wasn't much effect shown upon activating the skill. It's rather disappointing." Lloyd replied, "That is just what his life is like. There is no need to be all fanciful. Lloyd raises the shovel and shouted, "What is important is to be able to quickly finish what needs to be done. It is time to begin the construction." Lloyd's legendary bodyguard, who is a grandmaster, become now a construction worker. Javier uses his sword to slash the ground. For the step 1, use a grandmaster level bulldozer to clear the land. For step 2, while the master is resting like he was in a resort, he will use a grandmaster level worker to flatten the land. In step 3, use a grandmaster level roller to compress the land. In step 4, negotiate with the one-man grandmaster union. Javier, who was annoyed, confront Lloyd. He said, "Something is off. Why am I doing all the work alone?" Lloyd, with his ugly face, replied, "Didn't you start calling me Master Lloyd again? You said you would do whatever you could, didn't you? Why are you suddenly acting differently after all that you have said? You are so strange. Why are you acting like this? That is why you should be careful on what you are saying in front of Lloyd, or else you will suffer." Of course, since the master had bad behavior, it results in a negotiation breakdown. Next is use Hamang to complete step 3 so that things can progress quickly, and use Bengal to create rebars and concrete. Lloyd looks at how the construction works. In his mind, now, we are at the step 6 and we need to install the rebars. The method to do this is continuously reinforced concrete pavement, also known as CRCP. It lasts way longer this way, and it is perfect for hot and dry plains like this. Lloyd starts brainstorming. In his mind, the measurements of the rebar need to be exact, the installation cannot be crooked, and it needs to be stuck in the place because a lot of things need to be done by hand for all these roads. When Lloyd hired Centaurs, they are complaining that their back hurts and it is hard for them to sit down and stand up repeatedly. Some cannot even reach the ground. Lloyd thought that he will need the Centaurs' help, but they are so freaking useless. Lloyd was thinking that it can't be helped and there is nothing that he can do. So, he will just relax and the Grand Master will have to do it all. This master is so cruel. For step 7, it is the time to put the grand concrete. The grand curing is in step 8. For step 9 is the grand sand, and the Grand Master is the one who is doing the groundworks. Lloyd shouted that for the last step, all they needed to do is the grand finish. Javier, on the other hand, looks like he wants to beat his master, but he knows he can't do that. The plan can be now seen for real, and the massive arena for racing was already finished. Of course, the major mind for this project is Lloyd Frontera, featuring the greatest hands of Javier. Lloyd smiled looking at the view. He said, "This huge construction project of 7 months is now completed. What do you think, Javier? I am awesome, aren't I? We only took 7 months to complete this. Incredible, isn't it?" But Javier looks annoyed while listening at Lloyd. Javier looks so angry. He was holding his anger this time around, maybe because of being abused and overworked. This guy became a tractor and worked like hell. Javier didn't do anything but just walks out. The system told Lloyd that Javier just showed him his angriest side. But this abusive master just smiles looking at his bodyguard, so annoyed this time. Then after that, an event was held and the crowd was so energetic as they start shouting in that large arena. As the chieftain, Cherican was the one who welcomes the opening of the arena. He shouted, "The race arena of the Centaurs. Welcome to the first race." The existence of this arena, and the banning of impromptu races and setting speed limits within the village. I know there are people that are against for this idea, and there are people who support this. But so, what? I am for it. The first title of the first race will claim the rights to propose to my lovely and utterly cute daughter, Sharonin. No way! Even her getting angry is so attractive. Sharonin felt embarrassed and told her father to stop what he is doing. The contestant number 1 is Comanche. Comanche greets the audience. The contestant number 2 is Shumel, but Shumel was teased by the audience. They shouted, "Hey, Comanche, isn't your opponent way too easy? Is he going to roll on the ground again? He will become the first loser in this arena." Comanche starts taunting Shumel. He starts showing off his tongue. He said, "Hey, Shumel, I saw you training in some remote corner of the plains. You were indeed pretty fast. You held yourself back in the village because you were afraid of being crashed into someone, right? But you know you weren't the only one that was holding himself back. There was no need for me to use my full speed against the slowpoke of the village." Shumel didn't mind him. Comanche added, no matter how much the world changes, losers will remain losers. Shumel was just silent. Maybe he will put everything on the race. Lloyd told Comanche to stop taunting right now. He raised his shovel and told the two contenders to be ready. Comanche was smiling and was excited. Maybe he was thinking that he will win and become Sharinan's husband. Both Cherokee and Sharinan looked so serious. This time it was not a slingshot that used. With a blast in Lloyd's small shovel, a signal for go was said. Without a second has passed, a strong gush of wind passed by. Comanche was left. Both Comanche and Lloyd lost their clothes because of that strong wind. Even the audience was affected by the strong wind from someone who is running so fast. Comanche wasn't able to move from the starting line, but Shumel had already reached the finish line and was able to create a curve line from drifting. Shumel was really the protagonist of this story. He looked at Comanche and said, "Sorry, I am going first because I have something urgent I need to attend to." The prideful Comanche, who thinks he is the best, was speechless that he was just defeated just like that. Shumel goes to where his love is. He runs toward where the prize is, which is the chance to marry the daughter of the chieftain. Lloyd looks to where the two lover is standing at, and Shumel asks Sharinan, "Will you marry me?" Hearing that made Sharinan cry and tears starts falling in his eyes. Sharinan couldn't take it anymore and he runs to hug Shumel. She said, "You idiot, your proposal is so late." The crowd start cheering after that. Even Cherokee was happy to see his daughter in the hands of someone she really loves. Sharinan was so happy and starts flexing her future husband. She raised his finger and happily shouted, "Did you all see that? This is my man. The fastest centaur is my man." Both Sharinan and Shumel looks at Lloyd happily, and Lloyd also smiles back. Lloyd really creates the best love stories with his unorthodox method. But the ending was always happy for those good couples. But when will this bastard create his own love story? One of the dark nights in the Central Plains, there was a tent which was a home for a family of centaurs. There was no noise that could be heard and only silence surrounded the house. The child who was once bribed by Lloyd to become an Oscar Award actor looks at his father. He looks at him like thinking his family had gone mad. His father said, "I don't think there is any other way now." His father told his wife that they needed to divorce now. The wife, who looks gloomy, replied, "Okay, I can't think of anything else." The next day, a loud noise can be heard in the arena as a new race was about to start. The announcer shouted, "Today's last race. The title of this magnificent last race is, My Wife, Shall We Get Back Together Again?" What a crazy title for a race that could become a drama. A slingshot was used once again as a sign of the start of the race. Lloyd hears the announcement. He said, "What the hell is with these weird titles?" Sharinan replied, You were resting, so you probably weren't aware, huh? It has become a trend among centaurs." Sharinan added, "Everyone has gotten addicted to the speed they feel when running on the tracks. They come up with many reasons just to have a race. The most common would be to get divorced and then remarry again. There are no more accidents and everyone likes it, but what are we supposed to do with this high rate of divorce?" Lloyd was speechless after hearing how these crazy titles were made. In his mind, they are seriously one of the craziest species I have ever seen in this world. Although they are crazy, we know that centaurs are the only species that didn't discriminate Lloyd's legendary face. Sharinan give Lloyd some random paper. Lloyd asks what that paper is. Sharinan replied, "You resolved all of our speed problems. This map has the marked location of the top that we promised you." After hearing that, in a flash Lloyd suddenly snatched the paper without hesitation. Lloyd said, "Oh my, I didn't do much, but I will be shameless and take it." Sharinan looked at Lloyd's face and replied, "That is the most shameless face in the world." Sharinan smiles and said, "No, I am the one who is shameless. I have accepted too much help from you. Thanks." Lloyd bows down and said, "You're welcome. I simply did what I had to do." Then a window system pops up saying that a new race was unlocked. Lloyd have left a legendary footprint in the safety and development of the centaurs. Lloyd receives a bonus RP, and his final RP is 1755. Javier was silent and just looked at his master after they fulfilled their mission. In Javier's mind, yes, Kim Suho only moves for himself, but the results always end up helping and benefiting others. now that they finished their mission and the reason they went to the Central Plains. Lloyd and Javier bid goodbyes to the main character in this arc about the rampant tribe of the Central Plains, which is the Centaurs. Javier just follows the footstep of his master. In his mind, Kim Suho is kind of different from the noble heroes of the past that I heard about when I was young, but to me, you are the protagonist of this world. Actually, Javier was the protagonist of this novel. It was only changed since the transfer of Kim Suho's soul in the body of Lloyd. But while they were walking, something strange happened. Javier suddenly blurs down and turns into something like mosaic. Lloyd felt this strange phenomenon and looks back, and Javier suddenly went missing. Lloyd's eyes widened from shock after what happened. Javier called his master. He was confused, looking at Lloyd and wondering why he was making that strange expression. He asked, "Master Lloyd, what is the matter?" Lloyd looks at Javier just to be sure. He replied, "It's nothing. I thought for a moment there was something that happened there." Javier was still confused what he is saying. Lloyd told Javier to not worry about it. Lloyd starts massaging his head. In his mind, maybe I was seeing things because I am tired. Maybe neurosis? But Lloyd looks up and stopped from walking, as they had already reached their destination. Lloyd just stands and said, "Oh, we have arrived at the border. I guess it is time to release the time freeze." The whole Central Plains were still engulfed by the time freeze, but a system window pops up saying that the time freeze has ended. And with just one pop, the whole time freeze disappeared. Lloyd was so angry out of disappointment. He said, "What is that pop? Just pop? What the hell?" Javier replied, "I think you should just get used to it." But Lloyd felt an intense cold. It felt like his heart had gone frozen instantly. Lloyd falls on his knees because of the sudden excruciating pain he felt in his heart. Javier called his master and was worried because of the sudden reaction of Lloyd. Lloyd was breathing so heavily, and the air he exhales was cold air from his heart. Lloyd talks to the winter heart in his mind. He said, "That surprised me. My heart froze in an instant. Winter butt. What is this?" The winter heart said, "It is the movement of the powerful cold energy that freezes space and time. When the energy is sent out of you, you don't feel it. When the energy is absorbed again, however, you feel it." Lloyd replied, "What the hell? Winter butt. Am I going to be okay?" The winter heart replied, "No idea. It might be a problem right now." Lloyd said, "Winter butt, give me a proper answer. What if I use time freeze again?" The winter heart replied, "To be honest, I really don't know. I am not the person who created me." Lloyd angrily said, "Winter butthole, what do you even know?" The winter heart said, "Well, I will tell you this. Let's settle with winter butt. Winter butthole really gets on my nerves." Lloyd said, "That is not what is important right now. Winter hemorrhoids. Get out now." The winter heart replied, "I can leave anytime, but you know your heart will be torn out and you will die if I do, right?" Hearing that quite alarmed Lloyd. Lloyd was annoyed. He said, "Damn it. I don't have a choice but to keep you because of the time freeze, but I can't take you out if I think you will put me in danger." The winter heart replied, "Well, you can ask the person who is approaching for details." After that, Javier grabs Lloyd and told him that something is approaching. Lloyd asks him, "What is it?" Javier's eyes widened because he was quite alarmed on the thing that is approaching. He said, "I am not sure who is approaching, but I don't think I will be able to stop it." Lloyd and Javier look up in the sky where they felt that something is approaching. Then suddenly, the cloud was cleared as someone large thing that is flying are on his way towards them. Javier covers Lloyd to protect him. But the one that actually arrives and in front of them was not a mere person or a bird but a freaking dragon. Lloyd starts sweating and his eyes widen. In his mind, a dragon covered in ice. Tyrannus, that is the one who made the winter hemorrhoids. Even in this crazy situation, the winter heart still complained about asking Lloyd to just call him winter butt instead. Tyrannus looks at Lloyd. He said, "Are you the one who ate the winter heart? The person who abused the power and froze the time of this world? I need it back." Lloyd this time looks like an innocent baby looking at the great elder dragon Tyrannus. He said, "Huh? That wasn't me." Javier was shocked to see the impromptu acting of Lloyd. This guy acted like he didn't know anything in just a split second. Tyrannus was silent looking at Lloyd. Even the Winter Heart was shocked to see that Lloyd acting like nothing in just a split second. How the hell could he act innocently in this crazy freaking situation? Tyrannus asks, "You are not the one that uses that?" "Really?" Lloyd replied, "Yes, you've got the wrong person." Lloyd starts to walk and wave his hand. He said, "I hope you find the right person, goodbye." Tyrannus replied, "Oh, okay, I guess I got the wrong person." Lloyd walked straight without even looking back. He was sweating while walking away slowly from the dragon. Javier just follows what his master is doing, but we know that even he was in fear right now. But Tyrannus suddenly looks back and glares at them. He said, "Is that what you thought I would say?" After hearing that both of them, especially Lloyd, was sweating too much. Lloyd and Javier bows down in front of the elder dragon Tyrannus. Lloyd said, "Oh my, please wait a second. What did you just say you were looking for?" Tyrannus told Lloyd that it was the Winter Heart. Lloyd replied, I thought you were trying to find the Mirror Heart." Yes, I have the Winter Heart." Lloyd was quite annoyed and murmured that his plan didn't work. Javier was shocked to hear that. He looks at Lloyd in his mind. What? He really thought that would get him out of this? Tyrannus said, "The Winter Heart was a present from me to the founder of the Magentano Kingdom, Michael. How dare you absorb it? You don't seem to be the descendant of his. The only way you could have gotten it is by stealing it, right?" Lloyd replied, "I am not a thief. I am not the descendant of the royal family, but I work with them. Actually, I am someone who is married in the royal family." Tyrannus asks him, "Who is it?" Lloyd replied, "It is Queen Alicia Termina Magentano." After hearing what Lloyd said, Javier starts sweating so much that he can fill a whole bucket. Bro casually mentioned the full name of the queen in front of the dragon. Tyrannus said, "So I can go ask her about that right now?" Lloyd replied, "Please do." Javier could only close his eyes because of how crazy this conversation between his crazy master and an elder dragon. After hearing the response of Lloyd, within a split second, Tyrannus fly away to go to the Magentano Kingdom. As soon as Tyrannus left, Lloyd and Javier slowly stood up. Javier looked at Lloyd and he was so pale and was sweating so much. A face of someone who was packed up. Lloyd said, "Damn it, what do I do? This is so freaking insane. What do I do?" Bro got married and have a wife before even his first confession and before he could have his first girlfriend. I think the elder dragon could believe if Lloyd refers to Javier as the queen's husband, but with the legendary face of Lloyd, the elder dragon needs really to confirm if it is really true. As the elder dragon appeared in the kingdom's palace, Queen Alicia greets him. Queen Alicia said, "Oh great divine founding dragon, Tyrannus. What did you just say?" Tyrannus replied, "I ask you if it is true that the person who absorbed the Winter Heart is married to you." The queen, who had no idea what trouble Lloyd had caused again, could only ask the great Tyrannus, "What did he say?" Lloyd is going to be cooked right now.